Welcome to FreemaDive. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to design this amazing form. And notice when I click here, there is this amazing form that comes from the right to the left, and it has this nice sliding effect that we can see as we click it. So let me do it again. So when I click here, you can see there's a nice form, and where the user can input their first name and a second name, email address, company. So forms are just a good way to capture your users' information and also to get leads for your product or service. And with Framer, you can easily build them, and you can also customize them according to how you want them to look like. So I'm gonna design this form from scratch, and I am gonna show you how to do it yourself. And you can also add some effects to it, which we're gonna do, and try and make it even more lively. So if you're new to Framer, you can sign up with a link in the description, and if you also want to check the remix link, I will have it in the description, and you can click it and check it out for free. So without further ado, let's get this started. Yes, my name is Joe, and this is FreemaDive. Let's get this started. So this is where we wanna make sure when we click this, we have this form coming on this right side of our website. So so let's go to the button, and the button is where we're gonna do the magic. This is the where we're gonna make sure when we click this button, it opens up a form. So remember, we need to go to the button. So I'm gonna go to the button, which I've clicked it, and I'm gonna click here on the right properties panel, and I'm gonna see something called overlays. So I want you to click this plus icon, and as you can see, we have two. We have relative and we have fixed. So sometimes you kind of forget what the two are, and the best thing is just to click any and see how it looks like. So this is not kind of the overlay that we need. So I think we just need to go back. So I'm gonna hold Control Z, and I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna click the other overlay, and I'm gonna look at fixed, and fixed kind of looks at what we are trying to build, and this is good, okay, because it's fixed to our screen. So inside this overlay, because now as you can see, when this blue icon comes here, it means we're now editing the overlay. So I'm just gonna hold F on my keyboard, which is a shortcut to draw a frame, and I'm gonna draw a frame here. And this frame is the one which is going to be my form container. So I'm gonna call this my form container. So now this frame, I want it to be pinned to the right and the bottom part and the top. So I'm gonna come here to the top. I'm gonna give it to 0. I'll do the same here, and I'm gonna make sure it's pinned to the bottom and also to the bottom, and I'm gonna give it like a random width. So around 4 something is good. We can adjust it for 20. So now we have something. So we have the form container. So now when we view our website, notice what happens when I click this. We have this white thing that comes, but normally, as you can see, we still need some work to do. But we need to put in the content, and we need to put everything, the form, the inputs, and everything. And also, we also need to make sure that once we click this overlay, see what happens. So let me just come and view the website. When I click this, you can see that these texts here are still kind of above. They need to not be seen. So I think we just need to push them behind a bit. Because the overlay has a z-index of 0, and remember we had put this with a z-index of 2, so we can push them back. So let me give them a z-index of 1, and also the button, let me give them a z-index of 1, and now the overlay, let's give it a z-index of 2. Now it looks very good. So we're just messing around with the z-index so that when I click this, as you can see, now the text disappears in the background, which is what we want. So now let's go and pick up the content. So let's go back to our overlay and go to the form container where we're gonna design everything. So I'm gonna hold T on my keyboard, and I'm gonna write here, welcome to Frima. I'm just writing a random text. Okay, and then I'm gonna just hold it and hold Alt on my keyboard and just drag it to duplicate it. And then I'm gonna just write Frima is where you build. So just writing a random text here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna now click this to text, and I'm gonna make this bigger so that it's a little bit bigger. Sorry, let's go back to the overlay. So I make this big, and I'm gonna just hold this, hold shift and hold shift and hold Control Alt Enter to wrap the text into a stack. Remember, you need to hold the text with shift and then hold Control Alt Enter to bring it into a stack. But in case these shortcuts are a bit intimidating, what you just need to do is just make sure you select these two and right click on your keyboard, and then you can come here and add a stack, and it comes really nicely. So we're gonna make sure this is set to fill, but as you can see, the fill is grayed out because the parent needs to be has a layout, needs to have a layout. So let's go to the form container and add a layout to it, and then we want to make sure that the text distributed from the start, and then that's good. And then we want to make sure it has an all-round padding of like 24 looks good. And of course we want to have a larger padding on the top, so let's give it an 80 padding on the top. And then let's go back to our stack, and we're gonna distribute it from the start, align it to the left, and then let's go to this bottom text here, and we want it to fill the space. And as you can see, we have a typo here. We rewrote quickly. I'm just gonna change this. Good. So we won't focus much on the styling. So now I also want to go to the stack and notice this is set to fixed kinda, to make sure this is set to fill the available space. So now what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna come to my insert and I'm gonna add my form. So I'm gonna come here and search form, and I've gotten the form, and I'm just gonna drag it inside here, and looks good. And now we just need to click this form container and add some gapping so that we can have some healthy gap between the two. And then I'm just gonna come to my form and I'm gonna style it a bit. Remember, I want the width to fill just as this one, and then I don't want it to have a padding because we have already set a padding on the parent. So I'm gonna make sure the padding is set to 0, and it looks good to me. And yeah, pretty good. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna get rid of this location because we don't need much of the inputs, and I'm just gonna customize this very quickly. So now, as you can see, we have the effect. We have this nice form. This comes from the right side. So now here is the interesting part. We want to style up this form so that it has some effects to it. So when we click this, it kind of slides in from the right. What you see now is it just pops up. Okay, so we want to add this nice effect to it. So to do that, I'm going to go to my overlay and I'm going to click my form container, and I want you to hold Control Alt K, or you're gonna just right click and create a component out of it. You're gonna call it create component, and I want you to come here to effects, and I want you to add an appear effect, and I want you to come here to trigger on appear, which is okay, and enter. I want you to up the opacity so we can see it. So I want you to come here to the offset, and I want you to mess around with this X offset. So we're going to drag it to the right side, as you can see. We're going to drag it to the right side there. And then we're going to add a nice transition here. So I'm going to just use 300 by 60 so we can have smooth transition. So now let's see what we have. So if I click here and as you can see, we have this nice transition. Interesting, right? So then we're gonna just do much. We're gonna add some more effects. So I'm just gonna come here to my component and go to double click it. Gonna click my component, and I'm just gonna add some effects to this stack and this form. So I'm gonna come to effects here, and I'm just gonna come here appear. So on appear, I want it to slide in bottom, so slide from the bottom, and then of course opacity, let's give it 1, and let's give it similar to the transition effect, let's give it 360, and now let's give it a delay of 1. So make sure you give it a delay of 1 so there can be a slight delay. Or let's use 0.5. I think 0.5 is good. So again, we're gonna come to our form, and we're gonna add an effect, and I'm gonna just use appear effect, and just gonna use the same properties. So I'm gonna 300 here and 60, and now here on the delay we're gonna use 1. Remember the other one was 0.5, and this one is 1, because we want to see that delay, we want to see them coming after like a 0.5 second delay between the two. So now when we go to our website and come here to our page and we click here get started, as you can see, we have this nice transition just comes in from the bottom. Oof, looks good. Interesting. So that's pretty much it. It's very easy, as you can see. We can put our first name, last name here. We can add our email, company name, and we can submit. And this is interesting. So if you wanna edit this overlay, of course you can come here to the form and double click it and come to the form, and you can always add like the links where you want to send people to, a redirect link, and you can also come back to the overlay, and you can also edit the overlay so that if you want it to show on click, show on hover, but in our case it's show on click. The preset is set to instant, and we also want to see page scroll is block. It means that we cannot scroll when we pop it up. We cannot scroll our page. As you can see, it's blocked. So you can mess around with these settings to fit what you want to create. So that was just a quick run through on how you can build forms in Framer. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you again in the next video. Cheers.